Yibunei HaMikdash Hirtzio inte malai O korles ozman.
Baruch Habayim, welcome everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Tomorrow, in the Israeli calendar, is called Yom Haatzmaut. It's the Israeli Independence Day. Now, for many Jews, not only in the Holy Land, but all around the world, they consider it a time of celebration. They have barbecues and parades and fireworks and all kind of pride in the Zionist state's accomplishments, which they see after so much history of Jewish exile and suffering. However, for other Jews, the day brings more complicated feelings. For many, it's actually a day of mourning and sadness, and some even fast on this day. So today I want to, in honor of this observance, I want to share some honest, heartfelt thoughts about two different Jewish approaches to not only this day, but to Zionism in general, and to eschatology and redemption in our times. So the Zionist side, particularly the religious Zionist side, sees the state of Israel as the start of the flowering of the redemption. And so therefore they actively celebrate the state, and they would call it, Reishit Tzmichat Gulatenu, the first flowering of the redemption. They add that to their liturgy and so forth. This is common in modern Orthodox circles. Now the Haredi view is the opposite, the ultra-Orthodox view, which it presents itself in two different ways. You have the maybe more quote-unquote Main Street Haredi view, which would be that of Agudath Israel, which would be considered non-Zionist, and then you have the Satmar view, which is considered anti-Zionist. But I've heard it explained that really there's not much of a difference between the Satmar view and the Agudath Israel view, except that in matters of voting and going to the Western Wall and things like that. But theologically, they're really on the same page, and the ultra-Orthodox view emphasizes waiting patiently for God to bring the true and complete Geula, to bring the redemption, without human beings trying to force the timetable of eschatology through politics or military power. So I'm speaking from a place personally that deeply respects and leans toward the Satmar view. My children learn in Satmar. My family came from Europe from Satmar, but I want this to be welcoming for all of you watching, no matter how you mark this day. Generally, the Agudath Israel view is just to ignore the day altogether, right? But nonetheless, let's think about this together with an open heart. Now, particularly on this day, the 5th of ER, there's a big contrast. Many religious Zionists view the founding of the state, its strength and presence in the land, as clear steps toward the coming of the Mashiach. They celebrate with joy. They see it as part of a divine process that's currently unfolding, has been unfolding since the founding of the state in 1948. And also, many actually change the liturgy. They'll recite the Hallel, the Psalms that are recited on holidays, some even with liturgical benedictions. Now, the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox view, particularly the teachings of the Satmar Rebbe, Rabbeinu Yoel Teitelbaum, Zechusi Golenu, obviously approach it very differently, often with quiet reflection, prayer, or even fasting. And they believe that the final redemption must come directly from God and not through any human initiative that tries to push the end times forward. Now, there are Satmar families that live in the Holy Land. Some have even gone so far to say that the Satmar are pro-Israel while being anti-Zionist. And the way that that's really expressed, and that's how I'll often express myself, to say I'm an American, and since Israel is a valuable ally to the United States of America, I can say I'm pro-Israel in the same way I'm pro-Japan or pro-England or pro-Argentina, some other country that's our ally. However, this has nothing to do with me being Jewish. I have a religious devotion to the Holy Land, but that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the modern-day state of Israel. But there's a deeper concern. Don't mix the holiness of the Torah and the name Israel with political and military decisions that put Jewish lives in danger, right? The Satmar idea is simple and sincere. with all the other theological and Talmudic discourse and so forth, the main thing is not in my name. That's what really the main issue is here, is, don't call it a Jewish state. Politics is one thing, and religion, it's really a separation of church and state type of issue. So I find the Satmar approach to be pragmatic and responsible for this earthly world. To me, it's like taking the safer bet for Jewish lives right now. This is what I compare it in many ways to Pascal's wager. There was a very famous mathematician and theologian, Pascal, who said like this: if God exists and you believe in God, right, you win. If God exists and you don't believe in God, you lose. If God doesn't exist, doesn't matter whether you believe in him or not. And so therefore, it's better, the greater loss, right, is in not believing in God, right? And so therefore, it makes the most sense logically to believe in God, to hedge your bets, right? And I think when it comes to the Satmar view, it's on an earthly level similar to how Pascal made his wager on a heavenly level, Blaise Pascal. So here's why. So it's like this: if the Satmar way is right, we should strengthen Torah, live our lives as faithful Jews, but most of all, we wait patiently for God to actualize eschatology, to bring the redemption in God's perfect time. So then the outcome is beautiful and safe. Nobody gets hurt trying to rush prophecy. Jewish blood isn't spilled in wars in the name of accelerating the end. Families can raise their children in peace, and Torah learning continues without any unnecessary risks, wherever it is, whether in the Holy Land, whether it's in America or in Europe, wherever it is. Now, what if they're wrong? And then the more activist path was somehow part of God's plan, which is like the religious Zionist view, it's the Christian Zionist view also. So then everybody still benefits from the redemption when it comes. But let's consider the other side. Now, I certainly believe in the coming of the Messiah. That is a clear, central dogma of Orthodox Judaism. But what if we go the other way, right? Now, I'm saying the most extreme religious Zionists, who I respect but disagree with, right? People like Meir Kahane and others like them. Meir Kahane had a very close friendship and respect for Rabbi Victor Miller, who was from the anti-Zionist Haredi world. Even though he wasn't raised there, but his belief system was there. So, we can agree to disagree and have mutual respect for one another. So, but what if we take the other path? We take the more extreme religious Zionist path, which is not what Israel really, for the most part, takes. Now, there are individual soldiers who believe like that, but that's not the idea. So if they're right, let's say the religious Zionists are right, and they engage in their religious Zionism in the most extreme ways, and then they bring Mashiach. Okay, Mashiach would come either way. That's really the thing. I mean, that's a central idea, though, that we have to believe. I think every pious Jew has to believe Mashiach is going to come either way. God doesn't need the state of Israel to bring the Mashiach, to bring the Messiah. But let's say they're wrong. Let's say everybody's wrong. Let's say, I certainly believe Judaism is true. I certainly believe the Messiah is coming. But let's just say, in a pragmatic sense, it's totally wrong. The atheists are right? The zealotry of the religious Zionists and the Christian Zionists creates real dangers in our world, just like how the zealotry of the Iranian mullahs creates dangers in this world. It can push conflicts further than needed and put people at risk, and it's all, we have the divine right of kings type of thing. The pragmatism of the Satmar view, which is really in the Bible. In the book of Jeremiah, chapters 29 and 30, we see Jeremiah warning the Jews in Babylonia, don't listen to the false prophets who say, let's go back to Jerusalem before the right time, right? Avoid that gamble, stay humble. We don't pretend to know God's timetable. We trust in Him completely and focus what we can control, which is our own mitzvahs, our devotion to God. And so therefore, that type of pragmatism is something I think when so many people, like in the secular Zionist world, they seem to think, oh, the religious Zionists are our friends and the Haredim, they're the enemies of Israel. But the Haredi view, in a certain sense, is the more pragmatic view, because they're not looking to force anything. You know, they just want to live their lives, have their own religious freedom, and that's it. So I think that's a pragmatic view when it comes to pondering with He'iyar, what they call Yom Haatzmaut. Now, if the state of Israel understands itself as a modern, largely secular democracy meant to protect all its citizens, it probably should act more consistently with that. Let the state focus on the safety, economy, defense for everyone. Don't call itself Israel. Don't call itself a Jewish state. And not only that, but keep religion and politics separate. I think Israel should privatize the Rabbanut. We live here in America and we're able to do our religion without the government doing it for us. So in Israel, marriage, conversion, divorce, burial, these are all handled by the government chief rabbinate. Now, I agree with their goals, but I don't agree with their means. I think just like you have in Israel the Eda Haredis, you have the non-government Badatzim, all different Badatzim, Eda Haredis being the anti-Zionist one. That's it. They are able to manage without government, without religious coercion, and without government funding. And so the same thing, that's how maybe the Rabbanut should go also. Allow real religious liberty, the kind where every Jew, whether deeply observant, modern, secular, they can follow their own conscience without government coercion. Now, I understand the problems that come with that, and that's why there's a push even from the Agudist side to maintain the status quo. But the only way to really manage that is like this. So therefore, I think, though, that this type of separation would actually ease a lot of tension inside the Jewish world, because there are a lot of secularists in Israel who say, we don't want the Rabbanut, forcing us around. And what do they wind up doing? They go to Cyprus and they get married there, or whatever else, keep the Torah pure and holy, and let the state handle earthly matters without claiming messianic status, certainly not claiming Jewish identity. So as He'iyar arrives tomorrow, I'm not here to tell anyone how to feel or what to celebrate. Every Jew shares the same deep hope for safety, prosperity, and peace for Jews after centuries of pain. I just think the Satmar approach offers a voice of deep faith, humility, and caution that is worth hearing. Put your trust fully in God. Don't rush on what only He can do perfectly. And I think it's protecting Jewish lives and keeping the name of our holy Torah clean. For decades, Zionists have told me, we need the Medina to prevent another Holocaust, but they didn't prevent October 7th. And October 7th would not have happened if either those people were outside the Holy Land or living as dhimmis or some other. It happened because of this claim of a Jewish state. So whatever it is, if you mark the day with fireworks or songs, with quiet prayer, reflection, and fasting, we all pray that God should protect Jews everywhere, whether in the Holy Land, in America, all around the world. And we pray that God should bring the true, complete Geula, the true redemption, with the true Messiah, Mashiach ben David, very soon. And there will be world peace forever. But the question we can turn to you, what are your thoughts this year as we enter into the Israeli Independence Day? Do you see wisdom in patiently waiting and trusting in God above all? Do you see the state's achievements differently? Please share respectfully in the comments. I read them and I value honest conversation. I'll often make new videos based on that. So if you're new here, subscribe and hit the bell so we can keep exploring these important Jewish questions together. And thank you for watching. This is Rabbi Joe Kolakowski, the Koblenzer Rav, wishing you and your family safety and meaning and all good things, and the Almighty should bless you all. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later.
Yibnei HaMikdash Hirtzio inte malai Okor les Ozman.
We hope you enjoyed this content. This channel has over 5,000 videos, including Torah commentary, podcasts, footage of Jewish and historical events, and much more. We are sure you will find more videos you will enjoy. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button, and comment. Rabbi Kolakowski often makes videos based on questions in the comment section, so you might have a video made just for you. By helping this channel grow, you are helping to spread Torah. God bless.